Taylor Cock here with Esports Weekly with Coca-Cola here at IM San Jose. I'm standing right next to Dash. Dash, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's weird doing a standing interview because I'm used to being like level with people in seated chairs, and now it just shows everybody how short I am. So, but otherwise, I'm good.
Should we get you a little soapbox? Would that work for you?
Nice. Well, I did that at Worlds actually. I think there was like a picture that was circulating the internet of like me standing on a little apple box to match everyone else's height on the desk, but.
I mean,
I'll handle it.
The rest of the casters aren't exactly short dudes.
No, Kobe tall, Monty actually very tall, Jat's pretty tall. Crepo is I think the only one who's shorter than me, and it's not by much.
All right, so let's talk about today's games. Obviously, we just watched TSM lose to Origin. What do you think is going on with that team? What do you think they have to improve? How do they have to get to the place where they can start beating these high-level teams?
Okay, super loaded question, especially considering the fact that we're in the preseason and they have 4 brand new members on a team, right? Bjergsen is the only constant from last season to this one, as well as a changing coaching staff. So when you consider all these factors, it's hard to read too much into their loss. What I can say is that I don't even think they looked good yesterday in their win against LGD. I mean, they pulled it out, and then here it didn't look good either. It looked very disjointed. I think that's the big thing, but that's to be expected when a team has only been practicing for a week, that their communication is off. Svenskaren's going in while the rest of the team is backing out. Kasing did it as well, like went aggressive on Thresh when the rest of the team is backing out. So, you know, I think synergy and communication is going to be the crux of what they need to fix in order to get better. But when I look at the roster individually, what these guys can bring to a team if they mesh well, I think 100%, without a doubt in my mind, is a better roster than last season.
I mean, I think a lot of that comes from the pure mechanical skill that a lot of these players have. I mean, there's some things that gave you hope about the CSM team. Is it just those mechanics, or is there something that you saw, something else that you saw?
Well, again, I think the fact that they have more than one threat. We talked all the time last season about how Bjergsen is the savior of TSM. If he doesn't carry the game, who will? All right? Doublelift obviously is a person who wants to be in that position. Like, he craves being in a high-pressure situation where he can make the plays. Haunter as well, like, he's kind of like the unknown right now. It's very tough to tell. What we hear about him so often is that he's a super malleable player, right? He can play a million different types of champions and styles. We've seen him play Renekton. We've seen him play Ryze. We've seen him play Lulu, rather. Or, no, Ryze. Bjergsen was playing Lulu today. We've seen him play a number of different champions, and the question is, can he carry, right? If they needed him to, can he? He started out with like 3 kills early yesterday on Renekton, and he actually played fantastically yesterday. Little lackluster today. But I think the fact that they have more threats on their team is what excites me about it. It gives them more opportunities to win, and therefore more strategies they can run.
Speaking of going into next season, we just had a massive patch in 5.2.2. What are your initial thoughts about this new patch?
As a player, it scares the hell out of me. It's one of those things where you've been playing a game for 4 or 5, years, however long, and you've become really comfortable with the way that League of Legends is played, and you feel as a player that you've figured it out. I feel that I know how to win a game of League of Legends. 5.2.2 completely destroyed that sense of how to win League of Legends, and to a degree, I feel helpless. Right? You feel helpless when you're in a game and you give up a few kills early, and you don't feel like there's a comeback mechanic, or even if there is, you haven't discovered what it is yet. Right? So I think the important thing to realize, though, is that all of these changes were made for a reason, and conceptually, I love them. I love where the game is trying to go. I love the idea of personalizing more of your choices, of updating champions and build paths so that you have more unique decisions to make that really affect the way you play the game. All of this is good. It's just going to take a fair amount of number crunching and tweaking in order to get the game back to a place where everyone, again, feels comfortable with the fact that there are ways to win when I'm ahead. There are ways to win when I'm behind. There are decisions for me to make at any given point in the game. There's a lot of fires right now. There's a lot of fires that will be put out. And, the final thing that I think everyone has to remember that I constantly remind myself is it's 5.2.2, meaning we're still in Season 5, or rather the preseason to 6. This is not the way that the game is going to be come 6.0, right? There will be iterations on this. It will improve. The fires will be put out.
So, I mean, looking into how the meta is starting to change a little bit, obviously there's been a huge number of AD carry changes. That sort of seems to be where the meta is shifting. What teams, or perhaps what styles of play do you think are going to come out in an AD carry meta?
Well, Niels, I think, Origin, I personally feel that Niels is one of the best AD carries in the world. I think he proved it on the world stage this year. That guy is a rock star, and he's still so young. So if we're looking at like individual players who are going to shine, it's got to be him. You know, I'd love to see what Uzi can do with the new patch. And then I actually think a question mark is Doublelift, right? I don't know how he's going to fit into that meta or which champions he's going to gravitate towards. What I think is going to be most interesting, though, is, again, once we see that tweaking come in and we start to figure out how the Keystone masteries like fit into builds. Currently, you just build straight crit. Every AD carry is trying to get to 100% crit, get that attack speed, and get that free lifesteal. It's 15% lifesteal without building lifesteal, which is nuts, right? As soon as we move away from that and have maybe another option, we'll start to see different AD carries prioritized and different playstyles come out. I do think there's going to need to be like a fair amount of tuning around junglers. I feel like I am a jungle main, so that's where most of my expertise and knowledge lies, jungle and top. And I feel kind of helpless as a jungler right now because games are so short. I don't have the time to get to where I need to actually be effective. And I also feel like because games are so short, a lot of people are ignoring Dragon and the Rift Herald, which means that part of what makes a jungler, what's core to the jungler's identity, isn't being played out in the game right now. Again, it'll get to that point. There will be value placed on Rift Herald and value placed back on Dragon as the game gets tuned. And but currently, as you mentioned, I think that teams with strong individual AD carries and those who can actually play to the playstyle of the carry based on all the champion changes and the way that AD carry decides to build, that's going to be the most important thing.
All right, Dash, thank you so much for talking to us today. For more from I Am San Jose, keep it right here on IGN.com.